Hello, everyone. I'm Gwen Preston, a resource maven, and we're back at the Metals Investor Forum in Vancouver at the beginning of March. And I'm joined now by Christie of Banyan Golds. Thanks for coming.
Thank you for having me again.
So you were just down at the BMO conference, which is a big mining conference down in Florida, and you were chatting about sort of the reception that the story was getting down there. And I kind of thought that was interesting because Banyan is a story that I have followed now for a couple of years. And the story's changed a lot in that time frame. It's changed in scale is the real thing that it's done. So do you want to just maybe talk about how the story has changed, maybe how you made that happen, how the story has changed, and how that's changed when you go to talk to investors, like who listens and how they listen and what they do about it? I just find that interesting.
Yeah, it's been a real evolution. I took over as the CEO in 2016, and the company had no money, had to acquire this asset, raise funds, and that was a very different audience that we were raising money from. It's primarily CEOs of other mining companies or people in the business that knew me, or brokers who would personally invest, but they wouldn't tell their clients quite yet, or they couldn't quite get their institution to buy. Well, flash forward 2019. We said when we went to finance in October 2019 that we thought we could see 750,000 ounces at 0.5, and we raised that $1.6 million bucks, and that was a different. We had a few corporates who invested in us then, and again our loyal CEOs and others in the business who helped us finance us, and we delivered the 900,000 ounces at $2 per ounce. So we said it and came in with 900,000 ounces at 0.54, so exceeded what we said we were going to do. So, in this business, you really have to establish credibility. Say what you're going to do and deliver on it. And then, we've done that over and over again. And, we've been signaling that we think we can see, a significant resource update and something that's around what I think is that critical economic threshold of 3 million ounces. And so we plan to deliver on that. And I think people can see with the drilling that we've done and the results we've been consistently putting out that we plan to deliver on that. We're pretty determined when we, and so, this last round, it's institutions. At the last July financing that we did was exclusively institutions, no warrants, 8 subscription agreements, very tight financing. So a very different audience. And so this time when I went to BMO, people actually wanted to talk to me. Really? How did I not hear about this? And I'm like, well, I was trying to talk to you. So I think it is really generating a whole different level of interest now that we've got over, some critical thresholds.
That's so interesting. How did I not know about this? And you're like, oh, I tried. And that's just the nature of the business, right? They invest in companies that are at a certain level, and therefore they don't know about them until you get to that level, and you have to grind your way up. And you and your team identified this project where I wanted to ask you to retell the story that you just told in the Q&A about making the Powerline discovery.
Yeah.
Right? Because it's a good example of how much gold there certainly appears to be at Aurex.
It's very mineralized, and it still amazes us. Like every hole we've drilled has been anomalous for gold mineralized in 40 kilometers of drilling, which is pretty exceptional. So, Powerline, Aurex was comprised of 2 properties, the part we've optioned from Lexco, which has the airstrip resource on it, and then the southern portion, which has Powerline on it. And we had to make property expenditures on both sides of the line. So flash forward to 2019, we're like, well, we relogged all the old core, and we thought there was some historic core from around there that looked similar. And Victoria Gold had very conveniently, cleared there for their substation, and then it wasn't geotechnically suitable. And we're like, well, that's a disturbed site. We don't even had to put any extra bond up for that. So let's go put 3 holes in there. It's on the right side of the line. We think it looks pretty good. Oh my gosh, all 3 holes hit. And then, we stepped out from there. Like we drilled 11 more holes in that fall, and there's no overburden. It's very swampy, rolling terrain. So nothing to guide us, no soil anomaly. So it's just been 100 meters space, step out holes, and you add a lot of ounces when you hit mineralization, but we didn't really know what the model was. Now, with 30,000 meters last year focused on Powerline and Aurex Hill, we think we really understand the model and how to target and narrow down some of that higher grade. So nothing like a little experience and a whole bunch of holes to tell you, well, maybe we didn't drill in the best place, but we now, we can now see that 16 kilometers of potential host rock. We don't know if it's all mineralized, but my gosh, there could be something, and we think we've probably haven't tapped into the best yet.
Yeah, I mean, it's a crazy story, right? Let's drill here because somebody cleared this for a reason that didn't work, and that ended up being the deposit that in your last resource estimate is just this tiny little thing, because like you say,
14
11 holes,
holes
14 holes.
total.
And then now, when you look at the map, the mineralized zone that's around it is just
over 2 kilometers of strike. It was 250 meters by 250 meters in the initial resource to get the 129,000.61. We now have 1.2 by 2 kilometers roughly. And then, it looks like it extends up to Aurex Hill as well. We haven't connected them yet, but we think there's a high likelihood they are.
And so you talk about, I mean, just when you think about this becoming, those multi-kilometer scale, when you look at the map and you see the growth of the zone, you're like, okay, this resource is going to get a lot bigger, fair enough. You mentioned at the beginning that sort of magic economic number, the 2.5 to 3 million ounces. And there's a real tangible reason that you talk about that number, right?
Well, that's what Victoria Gold did their feasibility study on. They financed and they built a mine having 2 million ounces in reserves, 200,000 ounces per year for 10 years. And I think a 200,000 ounce producer for 10 years is a significant project for just about every company out there that's a major gold producer or a mid-tier. So for Victoria Gold, that would double their production. They would go from being a 200,000 ounce to a 400,000. That's a significant for them, but even for Nico Eagle, it's a significant contribution to both their reserves as well as their gold production. So I think that makes us a very desirable target for many companies.
And that again speaks to that change in the investors who are listening. So the institutions probably come first because they know how these projects go. And then I'm sure the corporate conversations, I'm sure they're happening to some extent, but likely will happen more so from here, because like you say, the whole point is to demonstrate that it's an asset that would have a really positive impact to, a gold producer of almost any scale.
Well, and that's where it's a little bit of an advantage to our shareholders, is we're a little bit still under the radar. The more value add, the more ounces we grow before those corporates really take notice, and they don't move particularly quickly most of the time. So I think that gives us a huge, we'll do this Q2 resource update. We're going to drill another 30,000 meters. We've already drilled 5,000 meters because we started in January, and we're way ahead of the pack. And, yes, we're going to start our PA in the fall, but the reason we're not committing to finishing it for the fall is we think that we're going to add a lot of ounces this year with what we're drilling. And so that will only improve the PEA and, be real value for our shareholders. So it's a little bit of a race, and how fast can we get out there and operate? And we've got a great team. We had our drill contract signed in October. So, and have our crews already on site. That's a huge advantage for any real short season people.
Fantastic. Well, good luck in the race. I know you're already out there with 3 rigs turning, tons of news coming. I mean, this resource update will be a market event for sure.
Absolutely.
It's going to be a busy year.
Thank you very much, Gwen. Look forward to giving you an update at the next one.
Absolutely. Thanks.
Take care.